Hello there. My name's David Lovell, and tomorrow is the Winter Solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, um, December 21st, 2024. And I have to, I want to share this story, and I'm going to, based on true events, but I have to, because of what happened, I have to sort of speak in a manner of storytelling. So it can be, you'll have to decide where it's all truth, but I have to use what other people have said in addition to what I experienced and witnessed. And what I'm talking about is the winter solstice of 1999, and it continues. I forget about it, but then every winter solstice it sort of comes up, and a few years ago, an astrologer heard the story, said I need to share this story because people need sort of upliftment, and it it was extraordinary, but I I um, I need to break it down into, because it's a while ago, and I can recount the event without fault. So it's I find it extraordinary that after all these years I can still recall what happened. Really happened. There's literally no desire to lie, make shit up, because what has happened that was truthful from my perspective doesn't need a lie to embellish it. What you'll hear is an extraordinary story, and it just with the way the world is right now, I want to get this story retold, so that if folks hear this, they'll be like, oh wow. So it's truthful, and the only thing I can't what'd you say? I can't speak for others. So there's a lot of other folks have shared their. I mean, there's a lot to this story. So what I'll do is I'll share what I witnessed, and I'm not woo woo. I was brought up. I come from a family of scientists, and my background's in science, and I'm a failed scientist. I have no professional career in my area of study, which was biological sciences. Graduated out of Plymouth Polytechnic, which is now, I don't know, University of Plymouth or Polytechnic Southwest. It's been a few names since I was there, but I got my my Bachelor in Sciences, biological sciences, in, what was it? I think 1989, and then shortly after that, moved to America, where my dad was living, and my brother followed as well after college, and I moved to Oregon, well, Colorado initially, and then helped my dad immigrate to Oregon, and I've been living in Oregon since 1990. So I was in Hood River for like 8 years, helping my dad with his orchard, and I was lots of jobs, and I got into graphic design, and then through my work moved to the Oregon coast, southern Oregon coast, partly because of work as a graphic designer, but also my love of windsurfing. So me and my border collie Miles, my van, we packed up and we moved to the coast, and beautiful coastline. It's extraordinary. I lived all over the world, and the southern Oregon coastline is it's incredible. It's like another world. It's beautiful. So back in this winter solstice in 1999, I just moved. I was just under a year. Hardly knew anyone, and there was a local coffee spot called Soakers in Gold Beach. It's long gone now, but it's I think it's a cannabis shop now there, and that's the old location. And it was like the meeting place, like a lot of coffee places are, like little social, little social centers. So I would meet there, get your coffee in the morning, and I had this lady, elderly lady, come up to me, and she was Nancy Moore, and she said like I've been watching you for a few weeks, and I've been wondering if you could help me with this crystal. And I was like, yeah, sure. And my dad was a geologist, so I grew up around crystals and rocks that he'd bring back from all around the world. And so, I liked them. But she was speaking about this crystal like it was a living thing. And I've come a long way since then, but uh, having been, grounded in scientific education, it's like when someone starts talking about, you know, things being alive. It's kind of a little hard, we live in this TikTok world, which is it kind of beats people down who start talking about stuff like that. But I was open because she seemed sincere, and I love crystals and rocks and stuff, having grown up around them, and so I sort of agreed to help her, and it it was in the beginning of December. So the winter solstice of that year, I believe it was December 22nd, because it is a little warm with the Gregorian calendar, but I think it was a Monday, 22nd December 1999. And I, before the actual event, uh, she wanted to meet this crystal at her house, and it's just over the bridge over the Rogue River, Gold Beach, little community along the, I believe it's the old highway that goes along the road there. There's some houses there, and they're right across from Rogue Reef, and you've got Otter Point, Bailey, and the beach there is called Bailey Beach, and Otter Point is to the north end of Bailey Beach, and so I went there with, my brother. I think, yeah, he came the second time. Yes, my brother was with me, and we went into a sunroom at her house, the last house on this group of houses, and she had a sunroom with this extraordinary collection of crystals, like big crystals, huge crystals, and there was this massive. I mean, there was a fluorite cluster, extraordinary. I know all kinds of crystals there, but she had this one crystal that she had bought from the Arizona Gem Show that summer, and she brought it all the way out to Oregon, and it was very large, like that sort of diameter, and about, I'd say, 2 feet long, maybe I'm embellishing, but it's like a foot and a half. It's over a foot long, foot and a half, maybe 2 feet at the most, maybe a foot and a half, just to, but it weighed about 45 pounds, 45 to 50 pounds. Huge quartz crystal. And it had a little baby on it as well, like a cross. It was like sort of growing growing out of it. And she said this thing was a record keeper, an celestial, and a bunch of things. This thing was beautiful, and it was seen better days, but enormous crystal. So I helped her take it down to the beach. What she said was she wanted it to bathe it in the ocean, and she's an elderly woman. She just didn't want to carry this thing down the beach, which was quite understandable. And I helped her take it down to the beach, this little access spot at Bailey Beach, and walked the crystal down. And it was low tide in the morning, and took it down to the water's edge, which was 200-300 yards. It's a flat beach, sandy beach, and walked down to the beach, to the water's edge. I put the crystal down in the water, and just sort of waited there for a bit, and I'd say 15 minutes or so, just standing there like a right tit. And after a while, I was like, okay, well, I don't know how long I'm supposed to do this, but she wouldn't come down. She's waited up by the car. So after 15 minutes, I was like, no, okay, over with this. So I bent down, picked the crystal up, and right as I picked it up, I heard this voice just scream at me, "Leave me alone!" Like that. It was just like, and I was like, okay. So I thought I obviously, you dismiss. I don't know. You tend not to listen to voices. But anyway, it was very much a voice saying, "Leave me alone," and I was just like, whoa. So I waited a little longer, and then picked it up, carried it back to the car, and the lady was, she was wanted like debriefing. Was like, "What did you have? Anything?" And I said, "Well, I heard this voice scream at me, 'Leave me alone.'" And so she was really like, "Oh, it took," she was getting, she was talking to her like this thing was alive, and said that it needs to spend more time, like big longer cleanse. So could you help do this again? And I was like, yeah. Beginning December, and me and my brother, we had just taken on this offset print shop, so we were bringing work, taking orders, delivering from Brookings, which is where our print shop was located, and we had print work in all the way to Crescent City, Gasky, Nasika Beach, Gold Beach, all sort of that area. We were like the original offset print shop in the area. So we were like, yeah, we'll be back up in a couple of weeks. We've got to drop a work off at the local vet clinic. So it worked about 2.5, 3 weeks later, and I didn't know it back then, but the day that we decided, it was a Monday, we would drop work off. That was kind of how we decided. We went and took the crystal back to the beach to put it in the water, and I didn't know this, but it was the winter solstice that day. It was really early in the morning, tide was out, and my brother wasn't with me this time. Yeah, right. He was with me the first time, and he wasn't with me the second time, because this is when the crazy shit happened. And same as before, same spot on the beach. We rogue reefs off a little south off the coast in Bailey Beach. Take this crystal down. Now, she didn't want me to go like where I was last time, like 200-300 yards down to the actual shoreline. She wanted me to stay up by the high tide mark. So I was like, okay. So, and she was nervous. She was freaking out about something. And we put the crystal down. It's, just wait for the tide to come in kind of thing. And it's the tide was coming in, but beginning to come in. And had Wellington, let's see, she had Wellington boots on, rubber boots, and I had my trousers, my jeans rolled up to my knees, and we're just sitting there, standing there, around this crystal, a couple of feet away, and just, waiting for something. I was kind of weird because she was like, she wanted the crystal to be cleansed again, but we were like way up, she was freaked out, but so we had to wait the tide come in. So after a little while, saw a surge of water. It was like, whoa, like a rogue, you get, it's not a rogue wave, but the watch out for sneaker waves. It was like a surge of water, and it rapidly covered the beach, and was like, whoa, it was shocking. It was actually quite like, wow. But we're way up by the high tide mark, and I'd say 200-300 yards. So it wasn't really, it was like, wow, here we go. And I'm not making this up, right as the water started getting close to us, the crystal just started getting this pink glow inside. And, this is a sandy beach, and it's brown and greys and beige colors. There was no pink anything, sandy beach. So it was like, she saw it too. Then the water covered the crystal and sloshed around our feet. It was definitely quite a surprise of how much water, but not enough to knock this old lady off her feet. So it was about a foot of water so just below the knees. Got my jeans rolled up. They were a little wet, but it wasn't enough to knock me over. It wasn't enough to knock her over. And right as the water covered this crystal, it started glowing pink. I felt a sucker punch, like a gut punch. You know when you get a gut feeling, and the gut feeling was, it's gone, like that. It was crazy. With just the same sort of thing as the voice in my head, I heard this, it's gone, like that, but it was my voice this time. And as the water receded, there was nothing there. The thing just had gone. Now, having studied marine ecology, I've done, we studied fluid dynamics, sand, because you get certain creatures and stuff, intertidal ecology is based on, many factors, including sand. And saturation of water. So, you find certain creatures down at the low tide mark because it's always wet sand, and you don't find the same creatures up at the high tide mark where it's more drier sand, unless you got the high tides and stuff. So you call it thixotropic dilatant sediment. So my initial shock was somehow a little quicksand thing had happened, and the crystal being so big, it just plopped down in the sand sucked it down a bit. Nothing, no. But my ego was just, I don't know what you call it, where you witness something and for the life you can't explain what happened. So that's why I want to share this story, because what happened was it sort of broke my ego a little, like you can't explain it. And I dug down. I went into sort of shock because, being a scientist, it's like, well, there's got to be an explanation. Like I said, this thing was massive. That water was quite a surge, but it wasn't enough to knock us off our feet, and it certainly wasn't enough to knock this crystal anywhere. So it basically disappeared. And obviously, I dug down, I looked around, I looked straight out like, oh my God, is it tumbling? It's just stupid thoughts. Like, maybe it's, couldn't. This thing was huge. And it was gone. And it was a very shocking experience, because this lady had spent quite a lot of money for it, like $1,600 at the Arizona Gem Show. And she got it because they wanted to cut this baby out. And she just was like, you can't do that. I'll buy it as it is. And so she bought it and brought it back out to Oregon. And there's a lot of what she said about when she was on her way back to Oregon. This thing was talking to her. So I'm going to get into that. So like I said, that's stuff that she said to me, not what I'm making up. And I just want to get my part down. And then I'll go into all the things that were said by others. And it was an interesting day, because my family were coming out from Colorado for the Christmas holidays, and they got to Oregon. They got here to see the sunset. So they drove 2.5 days out from Colorado. No bad weather, safe passage all the way. And my dad, his wife, and his 2 sons, stepbrothers, half brothers, sorry. And Dad's seen a few sunsets, and what he said is like, I've never seen. I've got a photo somewhere. I had a very old camera. And he was like, I've seen some sunsets, and that was the best sunsets I've ever seen, right there. And what happened for the next 2 weeks is we had, really unusual hot weather. 2 weeks. It was in the high 70s to mid 80s for 2 weeks. And on Christmas Day, it was 90 degrees. And if you get, this is historical data, you look up the temperature in Nasika Beach, Gold Beach, Christmas Day, 1999, 1999, you'll see that, as far as I know, that's the hottest Christmas ever. And I grew up in Australia, and we used to have a hot Christmas on the beach there. And very unusual though for Oregon to have 90-degree temperature on Christmas Day. It's just December. We're not, look it up the latitude. We're not like we shouldn't be getting temperature. Anyway, it's a crazy. So that's part of the story too. And you could look this data up and you'll find it to be true. I'm telling the truth. I have no reason to make this up. It's what happened was wilder than any made up story. So because of what I had witnessed, I was trying to tell people, and they just looked at me like I was mad. And my dad's a geologist. He was just like, "Oh, Dad, you gotta believe me, man. The thing disappeared." It was like that. And I realized I had to shut the fuck up and just be normal and just have a good Christmas. But it was a very traumatic event in a way, because I couldn't talk to anyone about it. So it was a sort of initiation into being more open to like kind of what people would say woo-woo kind of world, which is, there's always been a sort of, between science and spirituality, it's a bit of a it's hard to talk to each other. So it was like that. I experienced an event that was defied my three-dimensional science brain, and very hard to not have anyone to talk to about it. But there were others who were extremely open, and there's so much to this story that I want to share, because there were like other people who have added to this story. So it's a mosaic, a tapestry of other events, what people experience. So one of the things about this particular time was there are like elders, Native American elders, who they had been getting signs that there was going to be a huge quake on the West Coast. They called it a purification. And all the signs were in place, and it didn't happen. But I had friends who heard about this crystal, and they kind of were like, wanted to know like how it went. And when I told them like, yeah, the bloody thing disappeared, they shared that, they relayed that information to Native American elders in the area, and when they heard, they were satisfied with the explanation. And what they said was that the crystal took a hit for the team. I know this sounds weird. It used negativity in a positive way, like releasing enormous amounts of negativity to fuel its ascension. So I know it sounds really woo-woo, but it's this is stuff that's been relayed to me, and after witnessing what I witnessed, I have to. Anyway, I got to share it because it's a crazy story, and I've been asked to share it again because it's the tomorrow. This is December 20th, and tomorrow's the Winter Solstice, so it's a good time to recount what happened, and the temperature thing alone, the temperature anomaly of the 2 weeks was extraordinary. But there's a story that associated with that, which makes me wonder. Yeah, gosh. So she said when they were driving back from Arizona, this crystal was speaking to them, and she's sensitive to that, I guess, and it wanted to get as close to public, as a citizen, as close to nuclear missile silos, Nevada, Utah, like all that area. So on their return trip from Arizona, this crystal was asking them to like, can you swing as close to these places as possible? So they did as what they could. And apparently this thing was absorbing the negativity of these nukes and everything they stand for. And it was absorbing that negativity, and it released it on the winter solstice. I guess there was some planetary alignments and stuff going on. And it was the last winter solstice of the millennia. It was 1999. Partly like it's 1999. So it was a unique thing. I didn't even know about the actual day. It just was like, yeah, we'll be up and drop some print work off, and so it just happened to be the winter solstice, the last one of the millennia there. So a unique time, and after it, she went into shock, and she had friends in Mount Shasta that she went and had. They all, channeling a woman by the name of Claire Hartsong. Did some work with her and got a lot of information. So that stuff was shared with me, but it's not me saying it. I'm just recounting. So that's what I'm saying about storytelling. I'm recounting what was said to me. So don't crucify me for this woo woo stuff. But I witnessed something very odd, and then it was elaborated on by all these other events. And what Claire Hartsong channeled via the Hathors was that this crystal was in one of the temples of Atlantis, and it was smuggled out well before Atlantis sank, and it was done with being kept in a like in a glass case, being in a temple. It wanted to go home to its own kind, and apparently it went to a place called Crystal Palace where the Rogue Reef is, but in the fourth dimension ocean, the fourth dimensional ocean, a crystal palace where these crystals reside with their own kind, and that's where this crystal was returning to. And I was just facilitating. I was its hands and feet to go home, and the lady said it was amazing that we didn't drop our bodies, like, from the energy released, but she said on some other level we have. So the next, so that's a few years back, and I've had to live with this. It's been quite challenging, but there's some people are open to the story. Other people are just like, you're nuts, fuck off. And so it takes some courage to say this, especially when you're speaking with truth. You're not trying to make shit up. But I do want to share it for what it's worth. I think some people might listen to it and it'd be entertaining at least. But this crystal supposedly made its ascension, and it released this negativity that apparently was why we were going to get the big one. It's what Rudolf Steiner says about when there's chaos and evil deeds spreading, the elementals will seek to rebalance, like fire and earth elementals, stuff like that, stuff that's come along since in my studies. And this crystal made its ascension, and and we saw this 2 weeks of insane heat. Like you couldn't, like it was too hot to walk on the beach barefoot. You burn your feet. This is Oregon in December. So anyway, there was some interesting elemental dynamics right after this event. Now, some people will say, causation and correlation, all that stuff. Yeah, whatever. But when you've heard enough of the parts of this story, you might be wondering too, because right after that, a couple of years later, I had a Sephardic Jewish singer come out. She wanted to see this place for herself. She was connected with the bloodline of David. She's a character. And her mother worked with Oppenheimer. So that was interesting. But she saw it. And we were partners for like on and off for 7 years. Then a shamanic counselor moved to this area from Southern California. She was sort of drawn to this area for similar reasons. and we did some journey work because it's very hard to be with this stuff and not talk to anyone about it. So we did some journey work. So she revealed a lot. Some saying like that surge of water that carried the crystal was a 300-foot Devic water elemental. She called it a dragon, a water dragon. And then 2 years after she said that, a one of the a lineage holder of one of the most ancient lineages in Buddhism, the Nagasvara Raja Buddha, he came to this area and we met, and he was sent by his teacher from the East to reconnect with people that he had known in the West in past lives. And he recognized me as his teacher in a past life, and so he had a lot to communicate too. This guy was a warrior monk. He didn't wear traditional robes. He was familiar with all branches of Buddhism, and he was more into Vajrayana Buddhism, and so he grew up in the Wutai Mountains in China, so he's a Chinese Buddhist, and he had to change his name several times because, like the Dalai Lama, he was like wanted by the Chinese in a way, like the government, and he was very revered back then, and he had like 1 million followers, and he had 3,000 healers, and he had all kinds of crazy stories. But this guy is a pretty extraordinary dude. Dunyan Lamon Dorje Rinpoche was the name that he had back when I met him. So he approached, and his lineage is the dragon. So the whole dragon thing came up again. So extraordinary pieces of the story have sort of come about since the event, and it's anyway, it's an entertaining story for me to recount it, and I'm just doing it from memory. But there's a lot more to it, and I think I'll just leave it right there for now, and then I'll add a follow up to this, because I had a lot of local people that all witnessed that same time, and they all have added to this story over the years. So it's still an ongoing story. So there you have it. It's this very strange event in the Winter Solstice of 1999, the last one of the millennia, and witnessed an extraordinary event. And I just want to say thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll follow up with more info because it's a lot to take in. Just me, but I'm just speaking from memory. And what I noticed was I got it. All of a sudden started having really strange dreams. So that's another part of it. Is an extraordinary, colourful, livid, lucid dreamscape emerged after this, and so I've like 15-20 years of dream journals. So that will be part of an ongoing thing where I wish to share some of those stories, because some of the dreams are, I don't know what you call them dreams, it doesn't even do them justice. Because this Rinpoche, he because he knew my mind, my ego was so rigid in scientific education, he knew that the only way I was going to become open to the woo-woo, or because I'm not religious, I hate religion, all that stuff. He started teaching, he started showing up in my dreams, and he would show me things that his master showed him. And he said it was the only way to reach my ego, which is understandable, right? But a Buddhist, I'm not into religion, but then this dude starts showing up and teaching you stuff. And so there's synchronicities, a great way of communicating those teachings. It's extraordinary synchronistic events, like a secret event that only his master knew, and I see the ritual in a dream. like 2-3 weeks before he teaches his whole sangha, his whole group, this super secret. And I'd already told a couple of friends like, "Whoa, man, this crazy dream, man," and I revealed details of his secret ritual that I didn't know. So the dream, it came via the dream, and he was using dream yoga to teach, to help me, to deal with stuff. And anyway, so that's another video. So thanks for watching, and yeah, and happy Winter Solstice. Tomorrow. I'm not sure when folks will watch this, but I'm planning to get this done. Maybe edit it or redo it, and then I'll upload it on the solstice. So thanks again for watching. My name's David Lovell, and I live in Southern Oregon on the coast. And everything I say I've got no reason to make it up. So thanks for watching, and at least find it entertaining. Storytelling. That's, I guess, the best way to talk about this sort of thing. So thanks again. Okay, and that's it. All right, bye.